Welcome to Mortgage Sales Playbook. I'm Pat Sherlock, your host. My podcasts are where top producers, sales leaders, and industry experts share strategies that drive real sales success. No fluff, just actionable insights to help you master the art of selling and leading. Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about really one of the topics that's really close to my heart, and that's breaking free from the transactional training model. And I have the world famous, or almost world famous, Dave Savage. And Dave's well known in our industry. I really don't even have to introduce him, but he is Chief Growth Officer at TrustEngine, and he certainly is well known for being the founder of Mortgage Coach. So hi, Dave.
Hey, Pat, it's an honor to be here, and I'm excited about this conversation.
Yes, I love this topic, but before we step into it, I have to ask, because you posted not too long ago about how you started Mortgage Coach, and you showed the picture of you a long time ago, let's put it that way. And so talk to me about how you got into the mortgage world, and then talk a little bit about how the world of Mortgage Coach got started.
Yeah, so that picture, I'm pretty sure was 1992,
Yeah.
and I had become a pretty successful loan officer at that point,
Hmm.
and it was really just winning by noon. Like I got up early, I had good personal habits, I got my prospecting done, a couple hours of prospecting for noon, and my original mentor, Mel Samick, had me focused on calling CPAs and financial planners and helping them and their clients with their financing needs.
Hmm.
And so that was that. And that picture, I hired a company called Hobbs and Herder that specialized in personal branding. And I had gone from top producer of my company to one of the top producers in Orange County. And I wanted to become one of the top loan officers in the country. And so I hired them to create like a brochure. They had a film team come out. They helped me with my
Hmm.
value proposition. And that value proposition, by the way, was life-changing. It was my advice makes a difference. And so I created a brochure saying my advice makes a difference. And then Mortgage Coach, took a few years, but I was, just, okay, my advice makes a difference. Boom. I had developed a sales process that I called wow selling, where if I could just surpass someone's expectations at scale quickly, then I'd win. So I actually, the name of Mortgage Coach, the company is called Wow Tools, and Mortgage Coach was a DBA of Wow Tools. And then I was reading a book on Six Sigma, and I
Hmm.
came across this term, moments of truth.
Hmm.
And so when I founded Mortgage Coach, I was really like solving for what is a moment of truth in front of loan manufacturing, like to win a
Hmm.
deal. And I had kind of developed like, hey, if I gave someone options, if I showed them the cost of those options over periods of time that mattered to them, if I showed people how they could pay off their home faster or build wealth with real estate faster, like boom. And so Mortgage Coach, I created Mortgage Coach based off those
Hmm.
ideas of that picture.
So, Dave, I have to ask you this question because I was always curious about it, because it seems like such a simple, idea of showing options. But today it's still a radical concept, which I find almost incredible when you think about it. And so I just think it was a brilliant idea, but it did seem like it was such like, well, yeah, you should be giving options.
Yeah, well, what I've learned, and I know you've learned this too, because we both coached and mentored a lot of people, it's
Yeah.
easy to do, but it's easier not to do.
Yeah.
And then we also learned that the difference between the most successful people is consistency. And
Right.
so the most successful people will do those easy things to do. They'll build a habit around it. They'll do it consistently. And unfortunately, the majority of people don't roll that way.
Right. So let's talk about, and we talked about this the other day, which I was really excited to hear your thoughts on it, about the emphasis on transactional training model, which is obviously pretty common within our industry. In fact, I would say that's the most prevalent training that's ever done. Talk about what it is and why you think maybe it shouldn't be the 100% strategy.
First of all, I mean, rocket. I mean, like
Yeah.
when you look at the national platforms, the way that not just that they're using technology, but the way that they are training loan officers to use technology, they are managing loan officers to follow a best practice sales process,
Correct.
competing on price, competing on speed, and convenience, which, by the way, that's the transactional model. What's
Hmm.
your price? How fast can you do it? And how
Hmm.
conveniently you can do it. Uh, that is, and then you take AI. That is just not a great way to differentiate if you're a local referral-based professional. I believe
Hmm.
what's been a good idea for a long time, differentiate on advice, education,
Hmm.
coaching, and experience, I think is really the key to survival for local referral-based professionals because they're not going to win the price and speed game. Those are just table stakes.
So when you talk about the transactional training model, what is that about, and why is its time has come to really be recognized that that isn't going to necessarily improve selling skills?
Yeah. Well, oftentimes I talk to loan officers, oh, I'm an educator. And I'm like, okay, tell me about your education. Well, I tell people about points options. I tell people about escrow. I tell them about title. And so anyone listening to this, like transaction, transaction, transaction.
Right.
And so where it starts to go beyond the transaction is when you start talking in future casting for people that,
Hmm.
like, why do you want to be a homeowner? And there's usually some lifestyle things that they get from
Hmm.
that. And there's usually when you really start unpacking the why I want to own a home and I want to achieve financial freedom. And by the way, now we're talking. Now you can really start one connecting at a deeper level. You can start creating a deeper level of value for that consumer. And then again, massive separation. You're no longer the 6.5 at zero
Hmm.
points loan officer versus the 6 at whatever the points are. You're not about a price. You're about I'm going to help you achieve your financial goals. And that's just a much more powerful position to be in as a consultant and as a
So,
salesperson.
yeah. So, Dave, how do we get ourselves into this trap? And how do we get ourselves out of this trap? Because this, what you're describing, I mean, I deal with loan officers every day, and you do also, and they are still in this trap of that this is a rate and price game. You just have to see any of the loan officer groups. What are they always talking about? They're always talking about that topic. Well, my lender doesn't do this, or I don't have this, and whatever, versus this issue of really forming a powerful relationship with another person who's making a very important decision in their life. Why have we gotten into this trap, and how do we get ourselves out of this trap?
Yeah, well, first of all, I do not have the silver bullet yet, Pat. Although,
Well, we're
or the
close. We're
or the
close.
magic pill. I know. I mean, we are really getting adoption at scale with a lot of lenders. And first of all, it starts with leadership,
Hmm.
and that I always talk to whether it's a CEO, whether it's a regional, whether it's a branch manager. Usually, where I see transformation, well, not usually, every time I see transformation, there's great leadership. There's
Hmm.
whether that's
Hmm.
a branch manager, whether that's a regional leader, there is a well communicated like why. Hey, we want to adopt this technology. We believe in this best practice. Why? This is the data. It's been communicated. So I always say getting out of the trap starts with why. And so
Hmm.
like when we roll out Mortgage Coach, I have people go through a process of what's your why? And going all the way down to the branch manager. So if any executives are listening to this, like the branch managers are the change agents. Like you've
Correct.
got to win them, and then you've got them to lead by example. Because if you can get a branch manager to lead by example with a new piece of technology or a new sales process, you got a shot. And then the other thing that we try to do is lots of technology companies or sales trainers like you can do this and you can do this and you can do this and they
Hmm.
I would say they fire hose with ideas. We try to focus on one work experience,
Hmm.
which could also be called a workflow, and one customer experience. And so, like, if someone has Encompass, for instance, we'll go, hey, let's just focus on the Encompass integration with Mortgage Coach. That's a work experience. And
Mhm.
let's just focus on pre-approvals because that's what we're doing a lot of right now. If it was a rate and term refi market, we might say, hey, let's focus on this work
Mhm.
experience with this, and then we just get reps. So we got a strong why, we got a really focused work experience that delivers a customer experience, and then we get X number of reps, and then we iteratively train. So that, by the way,
Mhm.
that works for us, but it doesn't completely solve the problem. It just solves it better than anything else I've seen.
So when you think about it, and this is also part of under the mystery of life, is that it just seems as if there was leadership that this issue of moving advancement that helps not just the individual loan officer, but obviously the customer experience, that should be almost mandated from the corporate side down to the field end. And that still isn't really done because of a lot of things that you are well aware of within our industry. And it's almost like I always use the analogy of like we have a McDonald's setup, but we don't tell you how you're supposed to cook your hamburger. And so, all right. So, what are your thoughts on that? And do we need to see more proactive leadership at the top level?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I
Yeah.
spoke at God, what was it? It was the digital mortgage conference years ago, and I had a quote that was technology isn't going to replace loan officers, but loan officers who master technology will
Mhm.
replace loan officers who don't. And by the way, that's aged pretty well.
Yeah.
But when I say that same quote right now, I don't say master technology. I say master leadership in technology. So
Hmm.
I think, at the end of the day, technology has transformed our industry. It's transforming the world, but it is all about leadership. So, and making it simple, like this is what we're going to do. This is why we're going to do it.
Hmm.
Breaking it down, not like, oh, we're rolling out Mortgage Coach. Like,
Right.
and not a 1 hour training on Mortgage Coach, like breaking it down into actionable, high value steps. That's the way we do it. And that's what I believe in.
Well, it does lead me to this issue about that, and Mortgage Coach is obviously a perfect example because I deal with a lot of loan officers and they all love it. I mean, I have to tell you, that's what I hear from them who actually use it. Okay, so those that use it love it. And this raises back to maybe the same question I was asking before, that if we know it works, which we do know, and it ties into what is really actually pretty fantastic about it, is that you are giving options, and science tells us that a consumer needs options before they feel credibility and trust. And so what you're doing is you've mechanized it. So it's something that a good salesperson should do anyway, but it seems as if that it doesn't seem that it seems like they leave it up to the individual person to like figure out do they want to do it. And I just think it just seems to me like, well, okay, maybe you're missing a step here.
Yeah, no doubt. And that, by the way, that's another real challenge we have in our industry is I don't think we invest
Hmm.
enough time and resource in training and coaching. I think it does take training and coaching, and
Hmm.
it does take more than a month. It takes more than a couple months. It takes more than a quarter. So it takes, and that, by the way, that's why not everybody has great adoption because it takes planning,
Right.
leadership over time to
Hmm.
culturalize, really create change at a cultural level. But we're seeing it. I mean, I've got lots of lenders that are performing and creating these cultures of advisors at scale. And I do think with the, kind of rockification, Rocket is doing what
Hmm.
they're doing, Zillow is doing what they're doing. I think it is becoming more and more obvious to the rank and file, the average LO that status quo is not the way forward.
Hmm. So do you see the role of the loan officer, and really how you've defined it yourself personally when you were originating, is really almost like a private banker, what a bank would call a private banker, where you really are a wealth advisor. You're just not selling mortgages, and you are making this, in other words, assisting in the consulting and advice component of an individual making decisions. And so it doesn't seem as if we realize that, or a lot of lenders don't realize that we're really needing people that are astute enough to be able to recognize that they are a private banker, really, to a consumer. And it's not a one-off deal. Although if you look at Black Knight, only 20% of the customers go back to the original loan officer, which is like frightening numbers when you think about it. So why haven't we really moved to, like, we really need individuals that can present options, and using technology is just one method.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, I think when you look at the transaction, the rate in term refi is definitely at the most risk of being automated and
Right.
having an AI
Mhm.
automated experience. And then I think on the other end of spectrum, you have a first-time buyer is least likely because there
Right.
is so much empathy required, so much
Mhm.
education over time. I think you then have like the first-time seller, which I
Mhm.
would tell this audience, like that is the bullseye right now. People, anybody that bought their first home 3 to 5 years ago, they all have equity and they all need education beyond the transaction. They need help seeing how they can put that equity to work. And hey, this is how selling, list your home and sell it. And then I do think we should be seeing more loan officers leaning into non-QM and really being masters of non-QM
Right.
products, helping self-employed people, helping people that just don't quite fit in the box, but it all comes down to leadership and education.
That's true. And I actually see the market the same way you do. I do think the conventional plain vanilla automation is really going to address that, and also the tech savvy consumer. But on the other spectrums that are more difficult, that's your real opportunity as a loan officer, whether it's first time home buyers or the more difficult loans, which are the non-QMs, those types of things. Is that seems to be what you actually are saying too?
Yeah, although I do believe that the loan officer that is truly being a data-driven advisor, at least for now, can still win all the loans if you're
Hmm.
doing annual reviews, if you're truly
Yeah.
delivering an exceptional experience, if you're truly delivering on the promise that my advice makes a difference and
Hmm.
that I'm going to help you achieve financial freedom faster with home ownership and build wealth with real estate. Like
Right.
if those are real, there's real actions, there's real process, there's real service beyond that. I think
Mhm.
local loan officers can have a very, very successful um, 10-year plus career.
Sure. So do you think it's ironic that in 1992 you said that, and it's still very true today?
Yeah.
So it really is amazing when you think about it. The basics, in essence, maybe haven't really changed. It really is about that. So talk about, in the last few minutes that we have, talk about this issue of, I guess, technology, where you think it's going. What are some of the takeaways some of our listeners should have today on things that they can do to improve the customer interaction?
Yeah. So I mean, from a closing thought perspective, I think, what's the guy's name? I kind of took his quote and made it my quote. I changed a few words, but the illiterate of 2025 and beyond are not those who cannot read and write. Because truly, you don't need to know how to read and write anymore. I mean, you
Right.
voice to text and
Yeah.
talking to AI, but the illiterate of 2025 and beyond are those who cannot unlearn old school work experiences. Like you need
Yep.
to be able to unlearn things that aren't that are just broken. And then you need to learn to use AI. And I don't mean just chat here and there. I'm talking about literally, making that part of a day-to-day, like an AI augmented loan officer. I interviewed a top producer this Tuesday. He's out of Rapid City, South Dakota,
Mhm.
and the top five lenders in Rapid City, South Dakota. There's one credit union, there's three banks, and there's one IMB. And this guy
Mhm.
works for the IMB. He's the branch manager, producing
Yeah.
branch manager. And so, I mean, we're talking small town,
Sure.
mid-America. He does not have the lowest price. He does not have the best transactional experience, but he's got the best advice. And so he's literally talking to ChatGPT as an advisor. So he's AI augmented with the questions he's asking, with the conversation that he's having.
Right.
And then he's presenting his strategy with Mortgage Coach, and he's killing it. So to me, it's that unlearning, learning, and then he's always relearning. Like when I did the interview with him, he was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I watched that interview with Jeremy Forcier around first time sellers, and I
Yeah.
implemented that." So it's my thoughts are that's the superpower of the loan officers that are going to gain market share and the loan officers that are going to thrive. They're just masters at unlearning and relearning.
Is there anything that you would want to share for leadership? Because I think this is, as you've already mentioned, is rather the key for a lot of this.
When I started the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, I mean, it was a real simple thesis. We were coming out of the meltdown and
Hmm.
no one was doing sales meetings. I mean, not no one, but there was a lack of
Hmm.
leadership in sales meetings. And so it was a good idea then. It's an even better idea today. And I think all leaders should really put a lot of thought and energy, like every Tuesday at 9 o'clock for 15 years. My goal is real simple. Put on the best sales meeting in the mortgage industry. So one, it's a resource to all the managers out there. Like, I'm leading by example.
Hmm.
It's for loan officers that don't have a sales meeting or they want the best sales meeting in the mortgage industry. Come to the Tuesday interview that I do. But that's really it. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not what was an old idea. Do sales meetings, lead by
Yes.
example.
Yeah.
Those two things, do sales meetings, lead by example, they are just as valuable today as they were 15,
Right.
20, 30 years ago. Pat, I'm sure that's part of like you do these podcasts. You
Sure.
still have a passion for helping
Hmm.
mortgage professionals be professional. There's no rocket science. It's just lead by example and do it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. So, Dave, you've been fabulous to talk to. So, how can people, have any questions, and certainly any questions about a mortgage coach, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, I hope you follow the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. Give it a subscribe. I've got a website called Savage Insights where I'm
Mhm.
always putting what's next up top. Trust Engine, is something I'm very passionate about. You can learn more about Mortgage Coach at trustengine.com. And then I'm very passionate about seeing more people in their 20s get into homeownership again.
Mhm.
The average age is 38 now. So there's a nonprofit called First Home IQ. Check it out.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you, and you shared so much information. I think this will be a really very popular podcast and interview. And I certainly want to suggest for everybody to contact Dave. He's really obviously an icon within our industry for a lot of reasons, and you heard what he had to say today. And certainly register and subscribe to our podcast. We'd love to have you join us. Thanks so much again, Dave.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
That's a wrap for this episode. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your team. Want more proven sales strategies? Visit patsherlock.com for expert resources, coaching, and sales training. Until next time, keep selling smarter and not harder.